Welcome back to the Winner's Circle, everybody. I'm here today with Brian Hill from BlackCloak, and they are another big Innovation Award winner. This time on the personal security and executive security front, a very timely conversation with Brian. So, Brian, welcome, congratulations, and thanks for joining us.
Yes, thanks, Russ. Thanks for having me on the show.
Now, for those of us that haven't heard of BlackCloak, give us a little bit of background about the company and kind of your role inside of the company.
Absolutely. Thanks, Russ. The easiest way to explain it is our mission is to protect the other 12 hours of the family's day. So we bridge the gap between corporate security teams and the personal lives of our executives. So ensuring that their privacy, their homes, and their family don't become the back door to their company that they're, in charge of.
Well, yeah,
So
it's super interesting because you never think about that gap, right? Is we were talking before we started recording a little bit about I've got a little bit of background and exposure to this personal kind of corporate security space, and I actually remember too we had a neighbor that was it was one, and the corporations spend lots of money on security, especially for executives who are traveling overseas and everywhere else. But there's that they go home and it's like, oh, gloves are off, right? The corporations usually say like, well, you're not with me. I guess you're on your own. And I remember, a house being swept once, which was interesting. That was about it.
yeah, it really is. They try to have that separation of church and state. They don't want to, most people don't want their corporate environment into their home. They want to have that separation. When they go home, they want to have the convenience of all the cool technology we have at our fingertips. And they forget about some of those security controls because let's face it, executives don't just stop when they walk in their door at home, right? They're still answering emails, they're still answering phone calls, they're still working. It's just the way it is.
Yeah. Now you've had an interesting career. You're now in this field CISO role, and you're kind of at this intersection of really personal security and cybersecurity. I mean, you're the gate, right? So tell us about your journey kind of into this role and kind of how you got here.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone in cybersecurity kind of has a different, different role of how they got to where they are. For me, my background was, law enforcement, digital forensics. So I spent my career seeing real world impact of all cyber crimes and the victims out there. Last few years, I was head of security services here at BlackCloak, focused on building that tactical beast for security operations. Tiered security operations team, tier 1, tier 2, escalating to tier 3, to handling everything from your normal triage tickets to complex threat hunting. Now, the field CISO role allows me to take all those operational lessons learned and actually start going to, you know, bridge that gap of intelligence that's out there on the market. So spending less time in that queue and more time helping peers understand what lies between the professional and the personal risk that we've just been accustomed to.
Yeah. And so this new kind of, I guess it's kind of a new space. It's kind of not new, but digital executive protection. You guys call it DEP. You're kind of that barrier between, the bad guys in that personal space of the executive. You're kind of, I guess it's almost like concierge security. It's kind of almost like what I would think it is. Is that kind of the problem that you guys are solving?
Yes, absolutely it is. It's having that concierge service. A lot of our executives, and it could just be high net worth individuals, celebrities, athletes, they're used to having people kind of helping them with everything they need, whether it's in the corporate environment or just in their personal lives. And so we try to help with that. And that DEP that you're talking about, that digital executive protection framework, was modeled after NIST just to help organizations bridge that gap. It's easy to look at physical security, right? You have cameras, door locks, bodyguards. Those are easy, tangible things. And everyone kind of forgets about our phones, right? We use them for everything. In law enforcement, I used to call them snitches in our pocket because that's
Yeah.
exactly what they were and
Yeah.
are, really.
Yeah. And I think we've seen some some recent revelations or revelations, I think, from Edward Snowden about how easy it is for them to listen in on us on those phones, even when you don't think they are. So, I guess what now? Why is the home and why is that home environment such an attractive target for for these criminals?
Yeah, it's the lowest hanging fruit, the easy targets, and that's what threat actors, the bad guys, that's what they go after. They don't want to work for it, so to speak. They're going to go after that soft underbelly target. So if you remember the Target data breach in, was that 2014,
Oh yeah,
that kind of really set us off down this road of they didn't go after Target. The threat actors aren't going to go after the big corporate giants because they invest billions into safeguarding their trade secrets, right? So where does that leave them? Easy targets. You do a Google search on somebody, social media, do a social media search, figure out who's their family, their friends. You start to go after them. You think of, so they're going to go after the human element, that easy target. Then when it comes to our homes, we don't protect our homes like we should. I saw this across law enforcement of, think of your own Wi-Fi. I'll put you on the spot here, Russ. When was the last time you changed your home Wi-Fi password?
well, it was right when I moved in, which was 8 years ago.
8 years ago. See, and think of,
And it's funny because
think of,
I do change almost every password in my environment every year. So I haven't changed that one in 8 years though.
so you think about it. In those 8 years, how many times have you given that password to somebody that's come over and said, "Hey, not getting a very good signal. What's your Wi-Fi password?"
Yeah.
And in those 8 years, how well do you trust or know those people you've given that password to? Which means if they drive by your street today, they still have access to your home Wi-Fi. So it really comes down to how well do you trust your neighbors, your friends, relatives, anyone you've given that password to in the last 8 years. And that's why it's become all the devices that are connected into your home. If a threat actor gets into one device, so I get into that thermostat, right? From there, I can move laterally across all the devices within your home to your alarms, cameras, you name it.
Yeah,
It
I've been in internet and technology and networking for a long time, and we've been evaluating this threat for decades, right? The IoT threat at home has been, we knew about it, we let it happen, we let it walk right in the door, um, and these are devices made in other places without very much oversight. And a lot of the times, the routers and the devices inside of our homes too are made by players that we really shouldn't be buying stuff from. It's 100% a problem. I think I'm hopefully a little bit better at it than most, but 8 years is a long time.
it really unfortunately is, and that's where everyone wants convenience, right? As soon as having that high level of convenience, we have to give something up, and that tends to be security. Yeah, we buy all these devices from Amazon, from Temu, from wherever it is, and we want it we want to plug it in and let it go, let it work, which is great. But yeah, to your point, what is happening behind the scenes? We have no idea. These are manufactured. What are they, in other countries? What are they reporting back? Is it simply data diagnostics to help them improve their product, or is it something more nefarious going on?
Yeah. So what are the most kind of prolific attacks that you guys are seeing, hitting that executive home front today?
Yeah, really, today it's data brokers. They're really the I would call it the fuel for a lot of these attacks because they get your personal data. And so if they want to impersonate you, they're going to go out and get as much information about you as possible. So and then look for your voice, your photos, your family's info. So making sure what information is available about you. That's just the data broker side. That's not including what we could find, on the dark web where all your information is bought and sold. And so the family vector is now where threat actors are pivoting towards. So even if you do have a high level executive, they may have their information locked down because their corporate environment maybe has done a really good job of making them less of a target. But now they're going to go after, because they're hardened, now they're going to go after that spouse or the children, the teenager, because they know that's the path of least resistance. Uh, it, I get a lot of executives that say, "Hey, I'm not on social media, so I don't have to worry about that piece when I get to that." And it's, well, I ask them, is your spouse on social media? Is your kids? Well, yeah,
Yeah.
they are, but I'm not. Well, guess what? You are too then, because they've taken pictures of you, pictures of stuff in the background where they go to school. And with enough work, we call it open source intelligence. With enough looking into that, I can find where somebody lives, where they go to school, what vehicles they may drive, and makes them now a target, not just in the digital world, but potentially physically as well.
Yeah, I I Googled a phone number the other day that came up on. It was actually my uncle's phone number. It was on my T-Mobile bill, and I trying to figure out making sure it was the right number, and and it was so easy just to just put a number to a name, and from there you're off and running. And I know he's not very secure. He's probably one of the least secure. But it is that easy a lot of times. And what you're talking about, it makes it even easier at scale because you can buy tens of millions or thousands or hundreds of thousands of these. And I imagine that AI is only accelerating all of this. What are you seeing AI do to this threat, and kind of what are you seeing in terms of sophistication out there? How are they leveraging the new AI tools already?
Yeah, absolutely. AI has become, it's a beast, really. It's being able to take all of that data that we know is available. So they've been collecting this data for years. Well, now they can take all that collected data and they can weaponize it. They can put it into easy format where, no longer do they have to send the same email to 1,000 people. We've all gotten the, "Hey, I'm a prince over here in another country, send me some money and I'm going to make you a millionaire." All those emails, right? Cookie cutter. They were all the same. Whether you got it or I got it or your mom, your
Right.
dad, doesn't matter.
Easy to
Now they can take
block.
those yeah, very easy to block. Let's put it at spam market. Well, now
Right.
they can take, with the AI, they can take that same email message, but now put it into more personalized to me based on everything the AI engine has been able to collect about me. Make it more personal, make it seem more real, because their whole job is to get you to click on that link, get you to do whatever it is they're asking you for. And it could be as simple as a phone call, knowing, hey, I got enough information about this person. I think they're going to be susceptible because of their age, because of their income, because of the location. Hey, I see, you live in this county. Now, when I call you or send you an email, it's going to be your regionally specific. You're more likely to click on it. Like, uh, hey, a sex offender just moved into your area of, whatever town you live in. Are you now going to probably read that email? Right. You will. And you might want to click on that link. Or it could be, hey, they're calling you. You have a warrant for your arrest, and they name the county that you live in. A little bit more believable versus them just saying, hey, I'm with the county, and they don't give a name. It's more generic. They can be more personal in all their attacks with AI.
And so now you guys are really almost kind of at the, I guess, at the base layer of this. It's almost the foundational framework. You guys have actually developed this framework kind of as an industry standard. Tell us a little bit about kind of what those pillars are and why kind of they matter to companies out there trying to, extend that protection.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the corporate security teams are focused on, they have a great, robust physical security presence, whether it's, like I talked about before, cameras, locks, whatever it may be. They haven't taken a look at the digital side of things. It's still very in its infancy stage. And the pillars are, really the privacy side, data broker removal, credit theft monitoring, dark web. Corporations like to look for their own information in the dark web, but they don't think about the individual side. So having that privacy kind of locked down. Their personal devices. What do they have? They don't necessarily want to monitor their executives' personal devices, spouses, kids, but what kind of protections are in place? Are they just getting off the shelf kind of protection? That's a big part. The home networks. Most companies will do a penetration test on their work environment once, maybe twice a year. but nobody ever does a penetration test on their home network. You
Right.
talked about not changing your password for 8 years.
Nope.
I guarantee you've never done a full-on penetration test to see what vulnerabilities do you have in your home network? What is open? What's closed? Nobody does that. But yet,
It is amazing that this gap exists. It really is, because the amount of money that I know is spent by corporations to do this type of work is astounding. And you're right. The home is the big fat white underbelly of the whole beast. And the way we work now, I mean, I've been working at home for a decade. I didn't have a lot of proprietary data on my computer or anything, but I certainly had access, through my computer to systems that were pretty proprietary. So, yeah, this is really it's a very interesting space. And now you guys have seen a lot of growth and kind of partnerships with some of the bigger consulting firms and technology providers out there. Tell us a little bit about those wins and kind of those new partnerships.
yeah, getting a partnership with, the Worldwide Technology Group, right? WTG, to really, branch out and get into areas that maybe we weren't a focus. I know when I first started here 3.5 years ago, we'd go to a conference and people would walk up. What is BlackCloak? Tell me about it. Now it's when people walk up, hey, I heard of you through a partner. Talk to me. Tell me more. What's going on? So these partnerships are just a testament to what, BlackCloak has built over the last going on 8 years now.
And what's WWT is great, I think, in the enterprise. They're and kind of the kind of mid-market, large market companies. What's driving their adoption now?
Market share, I think, is kind of they're seeing a need as they, when we developed the Digital Executive Protection Framework, that DEP framework, they're seeing a huge gap in that protection, because they're very good. Like you're talking about, it's easy to sell products to the corporate side to bolster their corporate security, because we're hearing about data breaches all the time on the corporate environment. And now they're starting to see, hey, no, the executives are under attack at home, and it is the soft underbelly. We need to get in on that. So I think it's just about getting into new markets. And this is, granted, like I said, we've been around for 8 years, but really picked up traction in the last 3 to 4.
What When somebody comes on board as a new customer and you do your work after 6 months, what's that change look like in their life, and kind of what's their kind of reaction?
I think, yeah, from day one, their eyes get opened. That initial call we have with them, and we kind of show them the exposure of what they have out there. And then 6 months later, they get more hungry for the knowledge, right? They've learned a lot, whether it's password management, their home network. When they get a new device, immediately it's, hey, I got to call BlackCloak and get this device set up to make sure that I'm doing things properly. We become the bat phone, so to speak, for them to call us when something happens, or before something happens. Like I said, when they get a new device, or, hey, I want to purchase this device, but what do you guys think? Just having that partner, that extra second of, knowledge. So, it could be as simple as they get an email. Hey, BlackCloak, I got this email. Before I click on this link, what do you guys think? It's sometimes just that extra second.
Yeah, and it is a lot of it is training. I've been through a lot of them and failed a lot of them. Like I got caught in the honeypot once in a corporate honeypot. Luckily, it was a good internal, but I had to go do some more training.
Well,
I'm sure you see all sorts of stuff. I mean, I was talking to somebody the other day about a book I read. It was a small book. I think it was called Stories of a New York City Locksmith, or something about that. And it was a locksmith who had been around for 30 years, and he just kind of walked you through like how people got locked out and all the fun that, he uncovered. I imagine you guys see some interesting things too. Tell us kind of maybe the most surprising pattern that you've seen across kind of executives that we should, kind of alert them to.
yeah. The biggest one is password reuse. I always joke with the password Fluffy Bunny 123. Like, hey, I found this password on the dark web. But when I've told executives, hey, I found this password out on the dark web, and it could be as simple as Fluffy Bunny 1234, and they'll always look at me like, well, I don't use that password anymore, but I use that password with an exclamation point at the end. Or the response I get is it bad I'm using that password in my corporate domain? And that's where we really become a good sounding board, because I look at it like I have two teenage daughters. They I've done this, I've been in law enforcement, military, cyber for 26 years. To them, I don't know anything about it. They're not going to listen to me. But if I tell the neighbor, hey, John, go, tell my daughter that this is what she needs to do, all of a sudden she'll come home and be like, Dad, did you know we should be managing our passwords this way? Yeah, I've said that for years. Well, why all of a sudden now? Well, because so and so told me so. And that's where we become the corporate partner. Or, hey, whether it's social media training for kids, what the do's and don'ts. Parents will tell their kids until they're blue in the face. They're not going to listen. But BlackCloak comes in and says, hey, this is really what you should be doing and not doing. And they're going to listen to it. And just, again, that resonating voice.
Yeah. Now, it is a team effort at home, because if you have a weak spot, they're going to find it, right? I imagine, you guys find stuff, through iPads and iPhones and iPods and everything else. What does it take to build a product like this inside of BlackCloak? Tell us a little bit about your team.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, with this, our secret sauce, so to speak, is team and culture, right? Technology is great, but security is ultimately a human problem. So our philosophy has always been building the team that grows, you know, not having a flat support structure, but more of that tiered model of, I want people to grow within their career in cybersecurity. We're not just a help desk where you call somebody and they're going to go run through a script. No, it's about mentorship, building, internal learning systems so that team members can have a clear career path. And we've been able to mentor folks, bring them in entry level. You'll see across the cyber environment landscape, it's hard to get in the door. Every entry level position says 1 to 2 to 3 years experience. It's just,
Yeah.
so we've taken that approach of, hey, let's bring in these entry level folks and build them up, uh, so they have that career path. What certifications do they want to get? Let's help them achieve that. And rather than maybe going elsewhere, I've built a lot of internal training. So whether it's, hey, I send someone to a training class, come back and now teach it to everybody else. I think it drives a lot more value when not only can you learn something, but if you can come back and actually teach it.
Right.
Because
That's when you've won, right? It's sunk
exactly.
in. Well, that's great. I mean, as somebody with a few 20-year-olds, it's good to hear that people are trusting the younger kids, because the younger people, it's all you need is a chance, and given an opportunity, people succeed. So I'm glad you guys are doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, I also teach cybersecurity at a local university here in Minnesota. And so it's kind of everywhere I've gone, I've embraced that part of it. And I've brought that into the cyber world that I think is really lacking in our industry. Unfortunately, we're seeing it come around. But it's definitely, it all translates to that customer experience in the end too, where if they feel like they're valued where they're working, that's going to present itself to our clients, especially in those high touch, white glove concierge service that we offer.
Yeah. As you look at the kind of trends heading out in the next 12 months, what concerns you the most on our kind of home front?
Yeah, the biggest one would be the deepfake threat. We're entering that era of, you know, faked to perfection, so to speak. The FBI has issued warnings around campaigns about impersonating officials. Uh, there's a Phenom report that we helped put together that shows over 40% of executives have been targeted by deepfakes. And so AI tools are only going to become cheaper and more accessible. And the amount of data that's already out there, this podcast, for example, right? My voice, my picture, your voice, your picture, which means we're going to be susceptible, our family members, to getting a fake phone call from us if we become on that target list. So it's that education piece of trust but verify. So almost like everyone calls zero trust. That's great, but trust but verify, right? Let me take that extra second to verify. Nothing is that important or that crucial that I have to act upon it right now, because they're going to play on that. All threat actors are going to play on that perceived threat. And hey, I want you to do something, and I want you to do it quickly to get you under that stress or duress, to get you, really ramped up.
And if you were to give us 3 tips that everybody takes home and implements tomorrow, other than go change your router password and all your other passwords, um, what would you recommend?
Yeah. Take number one, take a look at what your digital footprint is. What information is there about you? Simple Google search. What information can you take down? What information can you do about it? Number two, password management. Password hygiene is huge. So whether you use a password manager, that is great. Whether you use, if you use the internal iOS, so Apple's keychain, or if you use Google's, great, but use a third-party one is always going to be better. Broaden your attack surface is going to be key as well. So 1, data broker, 2, passwords. And in addition to passwords, I would say dual authentication. Don't rely on text messaging for your dual factor authentication. Use a third-party authenticator like Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator, Authy Authenticator, something other than your phone number. Let's get away from phone numbers, because I could go into a whole we could have another whole chat just about
They're easy to spoof.
Exactly. Spoof, SIM swap attacks, you name it. The third one would be harden your accounts. When was the last time we get new devices every year? You're logging into your Gmail, your bank accounts. When was the last time you took a look at what devices are still logged into those accounts? If you went into your Google and went into your security settings and looked at all your devices, you probably have iPhones that are logged in there from years ago. Probably not going to cause a problem, but potentially a malicious device could get lost in that noise. So go in there and log out all your devices. Worst case scenario, you have to log back in from your iPad if you accidentally log it out.
Yeah. Well, great advice, great tips. I will be going around and changing some passwords this afternoon. So I appreciate that. Now that you've pointed that the whole flaw in my security system, I appreciate it. But super interesting. We really are going to keep an eye on you guys. Very interesting technology, great program. I love the concierge angle to it. And you're only going to have more consumers. So great product market fit. So congratulations.
Absolutely. Really appreciate it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to just continuing to be the pioneer in this market and continuing to lead the way.
Yeah. Thanks, Brian. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks. You too. Appreciate it, Russ.